Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Nerdtube No Budget Production Weekly Summit. We are united here today. I am joined by the illustrious Zam, The Block, and V-Man. Guys, how the hell are you?
Okay, I'll say that I am hunky-dory. I can't wait to get this shit going. Let's do this.
Yeah, that music really pumped you guys up, huh?
Hell yeah, man. It made me feel American, man. I can't wait to get fucking AR-15 and get my fucking, Second Amendment rights going. Let's do this, motherfucker. Lock and loaded, yeah.
America. So basically what this is a new program that we're doing between No Budget Productions and Nerdtube, where every week we're going to be coming together on Friday night, and we're just going to be talking about whatever. Like, we're going to talk about whatever comes up. We're going to be talking about shows from this week that maybe some people have gotten to see and other people haven't had a chance to talk about. We're going to talk about the most randomest stuff ever. We can talk about Aunt Jemima's famous raspberry pie. That it can happen. So anyway,
well, if that's what you want to talk about for an hour, I would tune into that show. I mean, smothered and covered, baby. All right.
Let's be real. You tune into all of our shows.
Dude, I turn into your Milk Game Toast channel, and you disappoint every time. There's no Bible adventures, and what's up with that, man?
So why don't we start on that, Bible adventures? That sounds like a great topic to start on.
It's Zam, the best game ever.
Zam, are you excited to play Bible adventures?
I'm willing to take one for the team if it gets us views, because I'm a whore like that, and it just reminds me of that time where this one guy told us to do a trailer reaction to this particular trailer, and I found out it was one of these religious movies, and I wanted to kill myself whilst watching that trailer because it really did my fucking head in. And I let it rip afterwards how hideous I thought the trailer was and how I hated every aspect of it. So I hope the person...
Well, I do have 4 stars.
Sorry, I hope the person who asked me to do it wasn't too offended, but I don't give a fuck. It's how I felt.
Well, I do have a birthday wish. My birthday is coming out next month, and I mean, I still owe you the candy review of me and Royce eating that. So but I do have a birthday request, or maybe a Christmas request. I'm not sure, but Cheeto and I talked about it, and this was Cheeto's wonderful idea. He wants to see you review Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas. So
I'll do it. Kirk Cameron,
that's awesome.
That's not a fan film though, but I mean,
it's not a fan film, but it's a great film. Academy Award winning, I've heard. So
Kirk Cameron is a fucking dickhead.
Calamity Award winning.
What?
I will happily. He's a fucking stereotypical fucking. He is the Chris Pratt of B movies. But I will happily watch his film if it gets us views, because I am a fucking whore.
Well, you will definitely have one. You'll have one person watching. That'll be me. I'll watch, dude. No matter what, I will.
God.
I will be on the edge of my seat, my friend. So you got him too. You got yeah. There you go. You got him too. So we'll be watching.
I mean, when it comes to religious movies, bring it on, man. I'm the guy you need to be watching that shit. Yeah, give me all your Hallmark channel and fucking Pure Flicks. Give it to me. Yeah.
It is so.
We need to get Sam
terrible.
a subscription to Hallmark.
See, fan films is no longer everyone's reviewing fan films, but no one's reviewing Hallmark. That needs to be the way to go. I agree. I second that. I second that. I agree. Yeah.
Okay. So Vance, are you watching Peacemaker? Are you caught all up to date?
I'm not. I haven't watched. I've been watching. I finally caught up on Mandalorian because, you guys been talking about, or at least someone has been talking. I keep seeing screen caps of Mandalorian. I think it's Zam I think, because it keeps flooding my feed.
Or Book of Boba
and I was like, I gotta go check. Boba Fett. That's it.
The Freudian slip.
And I loved Mandalorian. So I was like, I'm gonna go check this out. And I it was one of those ones where it's like I have so many shows that I just keep putting on the back burner, and I really enjoyed it. So I haven't got to. I watched the first episode of Peacemaker, first or second episode. I don't even remember where I left off, and I just never got back to it. So, is it good? I don't know.
Block, how about you? Have you watched Peacemaker at all?
I mean, anything with John Cena, I watch. But I've watched.
Wait, John Cena's in it? I just thought it was about a floating helmet.
Oh God, your dad jokes are fucking hideous.
You know it's good. Shut up, Zam.
It seems pretty good, but I haven't tackled it yet. There's so much out there that I'm getting behind on.
Yeah. Yeah, they throw so much on because I think everybody's competing to get with each other, trying to grab views and subscribers. Where I mean, it used to be like, you just need one, maybe two streaming sites, and you don't have to have cable. And now it's like you need to have like all 6 or 7 or 8, subscription things just to get all the stuff, because everyone's trying to compete with each other. I've lost track of all the things I need to catch up on. So it is, I mean, to me, the thing that caught my attention was hearing John Cena cuss. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he knew cuss words, because I'm so used to the, super kid friendly. Yeah. I'm so used to the super kid friendly, like, be the, kind of like how Hulk Hogan was in the 80s, just, do everything for the kids, be that superhero type. And then hearing him swear, I was like, holy shit, really? So.
Well, he did graduate with the degree in thugonomics, so.
What's that?
He graduated with
I said
the degree
he did graduate with. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he said the C word, for Christ's sake. I mean, he's going all out at it. His dad's a white supremacist in this, man. They're not fucking around.
Oh yeah, no, that show is definitely hardcore.
I mean, like even at the beginning, like the janitor was telling him, "Why do you always shoot black people?" like. And so he just they really made him out to be a piece of shit, and I don't mind that because that's who the Peacemaker is.
This is true.
I think it's liberating actually for John Cena to be doing this type of work, and he probably feels liberated for it because I'm not doubting that he doesn't enjoy putting smiles on kids' faces, but he obviously has more to him than just being that, and he's almost like the shackles are off now with Peacemaker. Like anything goes with Peacemaker, and I like that. You're seeing him have sex. He's totally fucking naked. He's fucking girls. He's doing drugs. He's stealing. He's killing random people. He's fucking, oh my God, it's just brilliant. I love it. I've always known that he was very talented. There was never a doubt on that. The guy's got so much talent about him. He was always going to make it as an actor. So I'm very happy to see him like just break the mold and do stuff that people find very interesting. I mean, that's what you've got to do as an actor as well. Not be a Hollywood version of your wrestling self. Be someone totally different, and he's doing that right now.
Yeah,
very much appreciate it.
Well, that's what they talk about, the sports entertainment. Like all that is just showboating and being a character. Whatever they put on for you, and that's. I mean, look at The Rock. I mean, that's I know a lot of it is presenting yourself in just a certain kind of light, but I mean, all that is showboating. And putting on just different characters. It is weird to see him in a different light than what we're used to seeing him on WWE. But I liked him more in the Suicide Squad. I think I need to see a couple more episodes because it was weird. But I really liked what I saw. But to me, it was just like, wow. Yeah, I don't know. It was just really weird seeing him in a different light that I have been.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a bit jarring in the Suicide Squad for me to see him doing that stuff. But like I felt like in the Suicide Squad, he was doing more of the what's it, hustle? What is it? Hustle, loyalty, and respect, or whatever his stupid catchphrase is. I think he was doing that, like because he was always standing at attention and all that, and he was acting very, like he always does in like
very militaristic.
Yeah, and in this show, it actually makes him a little bit more
goofy.
Yeah, and so that kind of I feel like it's a little less jarring, for me. So I thought the Suicide Squad movie was more jarring than the show is.
Are you okay?
I liked it.
He's a bit Max Bygraves, Max Headroom, sorry. Cheetah, I think you're okay now. Sorry, Vance, go on.
Oh, you're fine. No, the thing that I find his relationship with his dad, like it's so tragic, Again, like everything in the world is just, it's over exaggerated, and it's slightly off. Like it's certainly not a world that I would want to live in. But it really makes you kind of, as you sit here and look at this DCU, it makes you wonder if they're rebooting the universe with the upcoming DC stuff. Like where does this stuff set in? Because it kind of seems like they're kind of picking and choosing what they want to keep, what they want to get rid of. Because I know they're keeping Shazam, they're keeping Wonder Woman, Aquaman, but they're getting rid of Batman and Superman. It's just, to me, it really kind of, it makes everything just kind of up in the air of like what is going to stick around. I don't know, like the what was that, Birds of Prey? Like I wasn't a fan of that. Were you guys a fan of that movie?
Not seen it, funnily enough.
At all?
I liked it.
Seen it.
No?
Is that with?
Did you?
Is that with Harley Quinn or whatever?
Yeah, it was basically the Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah,
I liked it. I mean, I look. What was it, like a friggin' masterpiece of superhero movies? No. But was it absolutely awful? No. I mean, we've got so much superhero content right now. Like, we can do that spectrum now where it's like there's a lot of bad out there, but there's also a lot of good. So it's like if it falls somewhere in the middle, I feel like it's okay.
Well, a lot of good is Marvel and a lot of bad is DC, unfortunately. And Peacemaker's been one of the better DC shows out there. There's no continuity or construct or anything with the DCEU. I'm just happy to get anything at this moment in time. So it's good that we got Peacemaker. I'm fine with that, but I have no hopes whatsoever for the DCEU. If anything, I'd rather with the new Batman movie coming out with Robert Pattinson, I'd rather they reset everything and start afresh and make that the beginning, like make that the Iron Man of this universe and break it from there.
I disagree, but
these actors, it's 9 years since Man of Steel. Henry Cavill is not ageless. Ben Affleck's going to be 60 soon. These guys can't. These are not young actors, and no wonder.
I know, but you know what? Henry Cavill still looks relatively young. I mean, I get it.
Henry Cavill's going to be Captain Britain, possibly. You know what I mean? Or maybe James Bond. I mean, I'm not even sure if he's going to do this anymore.
Well, the problem arises from, like, we've had one Superman movie in what, 9 years? We had Batman v Superman, but that wasn't a Superman movie. That was
more
a team
of a Superman movie than a Batman.
I think it might be longer than that.
Well, but I mean, okay, no, I beg to differ. I mean, Superman was in it, but that it wasn't. It was more of a team up movie than it was a definitive Superman movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you can argue that point, but it's when you have two superheroes, and they share the title, I say that it's not a sequel.
Well,
then you have Justice League. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but they also had two Superman villains in there, Lex Luthor and Doomsday. You had Batman and Wonder Woman in there, so it's kind of like a bad version of Captain America: Civil War going on.
You're right,
but I'm just saying, like, for me, Batman v Superman always felt more like a Superman movie because it did advance the character arc of Superman. I felt because he was not only dealing with like the United Nations and Capitol Hill with the fact that he is an alien and he is helping out. around, and he's dealing with all that crap. With Batman, it's just like he's old grumpy Batman trying to kill Superman. That's it.
Well, it's definitely a sequel. Don't get me wrong, but it's a follow up, yes, but it's not another Superman movie. There's difference between a follow up and a definitive sequel. It's just like when you have like Justice League, that's not a Superman movie, and I would argue that Batman v Superman is kind of the same thing, at least from my perspective, and I certainly understand where you're coming from. I respect that, but looking at it from Henry Cavill, like we never really delved into the Superman stuff. The Batman v Superman, that was more Batman heavily focused. We got glimpses of the Superman stuff, but yeah, no, the director's cut was a lot better than the
much better.
Theatrical cut.
I want to agree with you, by the way.
I mean, it was.
I do agree with you. Like, I do think of Batman and Superman as a follow-up and not a true sequel to Superman. Plus, they're sharing the names. It's Captain America Civil War, not Captain America and the Avengers. It was just Captain America's name. He wasn't sharing it with anyone. And I still think of that film as Avengers 3 anyway. But nevertheless, Batman versus Superman is not a sequel to Man of Steel because there's two names on that title card. And so that's why I look at it as a follow-up and not as a direct sequel.
Well, the problem I have with the current DCU, and I love, I love the fact that we have so much content. It's a good thing because remember back in the the 90s we had the Joel Schumacher stuff. We had Steel. We had those were our
Howard the Duck.
Those were our shining films, but now we have so much stuff where it's like, what do you like? Do you like DC? Do you like Marvel? We have both. We have good and bad in both. Because I think Shazam, for me, is a great superhero film. I like Batman v Superman. I think as a movie, it's not that good, but I think it's got a lot of great elements to it. However, I think part of my fear of the upcoming DC movies is you don't quite have the established Superman established and defined. And like you said, it's been 9 years. And now we're going to go ahead and replace them with two new people, a new Batgirl, a new, a Supergirl that we don't know, and just throw them into the mix. To me, I'm kind of fearful because it's like, but we're still getting used to Superman. We're still getting used to Batman. I'm still not used to them because I don't know Superman all that well because he died in one, or came back. It's, to me, it's just a jumbled mess. And then we want to get rid of that and bring new people. But you did a piss poor job of establishing the other ones. What do you guys think?
Block, you've been quiet.
I'll go. Yeah, well, I was just listening. So I'm like kind of noobish in this conversation, but you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a delay on my end. So I was basically going to say, yeah, DC needs to not try to be like Marvel in the fact that they're trying to, don't do phases or huge team-ups. I mean, you can have the occasional, I know it's a TV series, but when Supergirl tagged with Flash and stuff like that, but you don't need to have every DC hero tag up eventually. And the other problem is, I'm not deep into DC. I'm more familiar with Marvel, but DC lacks really good villains, and we all know that great villains make good heroes. So maybe that's their problem.
Yeah, no, that Doomsday from Man of Steel or from Batman v Superman, that was utter garbage. If you go to from Smallville, I think Smallville was pretty good visual representation of what Doomsday is. But I think the visual representation. Do you guys hear me now?
No, I said for the 5 seconds he was on screen. I'm talking about Doomsday.
Yeah, and they revealed him in the
bloody trailers. Yeah.
The most stupidest thing they could have done.
Yeah. But it's to me that's one of the things of if you look at Lex Luthor, that that wasn't Lex. If you look at Doomsday, that wasn't Doomsday. Like so many elements, like it, you know, you blink and you don't see the reference to that being Jimmy Olsen that was shot and killed on screen in Batman v Superman. It's like there's so many elements to these movies that don't feel like the comic book source or feel so disconnected from what they're supposed to be, which is why when you look at what Zack Snyder had wanted to do with everything being reset at the at the end of all the movies and then being like, oh, this is how it's supposed to go in the proper timeline. Like that would have made a lot more sense. You know, it would have been clever and definitely a different way to go from Marvel, which is why it's a shame that it's not able to go forward. But from, you know, the at least the visual aspect, you know, Doomsday looked really good in Smallville, whereas it looked more like the Abomination from the Hulk. Like they do a really bad job on most of the representations. It makes me fearful of DC.
Well, for me, the DCEU was ruined when they made Wonder Woman 84 because it destroyed continuity. The film was shit as it is anyway, fair enough. But regarding continuity, this film made a joke of it. Wonder Woman was supposed to be this enigma that nobody's heard of. But by the end of Wonder Woman 84, she had basically gone into everyone's brain and convinced them not to fucking take their wishes. It seems like that. It just annoys me so much is with the lack of continuity. And you can already tell with how long it takes for them to make a fucking movie. It takes them years to do anything. I mean, the Flashpoint film feels like it's been like in 3 years of development, whilst Marvel are just churning shit out. I mean, the amount of television shows we've had this year alone, as well as 3 or 4 movies as well. If you want to include the Sonyverse films too, oh my goodness. You know, there's so much Marvel content out there, films, television shows, and it takes DC forever to fucking, you know, flip the switch on anything. And it's just jarring. Like, they just don't have the same sort of development in their productions. And it's like, okay, finally, after years and years and years, here we go. We've made something. Hope you enjoy it. And it turns out to be shit. I'm very, you know, Justice League, you know, I mean, that film should have had all those Justice League members should have had their own movie, and then we should have got a Justice League film. But that never happened. It was like, okay, within the 2 movies, boom, Justice League. It's fucking ridiculous.
But then they're just copying the Marvel model. You know, like I don't
even so, it still needed to be done because all of these guys we need to know who they are individually, and then we follow them through, and then we see how things pan out. I don't, you know, even if it's copying the Marvel model. I mean, they were already copying the Marvel model by doing all this shit anyway.
I honestly don't feel like that would be the case because I don't think people would have cared that much for Aquaman prior to seeing him in Justice League. Wonder Woman, I mean, you saw her prior to her solo outing in Batman v Superman, and as I said, I don't think people would have turned out for Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman for her first movie.
We never got a solo Batman movie. Superman. We never got a solo Batman movie. We never got a solo Flash movie. These are 2 massive characters. Wonder Woman was playing third fiddle, you know, in the Batman versus Superman. I mean, she shouldn't even fucking have been there, you know, in my opinion.
I enjoyed the fact that she was one of the saving graces of her being.
No, I'm not doubting that, but it's Batman versus Superman, and they're already chucking shit in. You know, they're setting up storylines that they couldn't cash in on, like with Barry and Allen telling Bruce Wayne a message from the future and stuff. That never materialized into anything.
The problem
it did in the Snyder cut, in all fairness, and I get it because but that goes back to DCEU's indicative hot. No, but
they don't need. Look, what they need to do is, I'm going back to Marvel again. Marvel was really smart. Like they had stuff already done, and then they used when it came to films like Endgame, you know, with Captain America grabbing the fucking hammer and stuff like that. That was already kind of established with what happened in Ultron with them trying to pick up the hammer and stuff. You know, you knew those moments paid off like that because it was organic. You know, it was much better that way, like than doing all this setup that's led to nowhere. Just give us a good film and then work off that in future movies. Pick the bones from that in future movies instead of doing all this unnecessary setup.
Well, that's been the biggest problem with DC from the get-go is they have certain elements, and even if not everybody will like, because I mean, the thing is, especially in the day of the the age of the internet, you have people that gripe, bitch, moan, and complain that, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, whatever.
Nobody does that. Come on.
That's crazy talk. But the thing is, like, they hear they'll have 100 people that like it, but then that small portion of the community will hate it, and then they'll change plans. The thing about it is, like, just trust your director, trust your producer, and stay the course. And if they had done that, they'd have been fine. Like, the thing is, like, I hated Man of Steel, but I liked Batman v Superman. I liked the Justice League, even the theatrical version of Justice League. I didn't mind it. I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but it was a fine DC movie. Would it have been, compared to Marvel? Oh no, it sucked ass. But it was a fine DC movie. Now then they get to the Snyder Cut, and it's like, oh my God, this is fucking great. But that's been the biggest problem with DC is they don't stick the course, and that's where I'm fearful of them swapping Supergirl for Superman, Batgirl for Batman. It's like we barely got to know the establishment, and now you want to swap it for this. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Michael Keaton, but I'm kind of like, what are we doing with him? Like, it's making me.
He's going to be the Nick Fury of the DCEU.
Yeah, it's as much as I'm excited about that, and I think that's why they're doing it is because, okay, we lost Ben, let's bring in Michael, let's do this, because it's just like, you guys have fucked up so many times. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing, and if they just stayed the course, they'd have been fine. Even though not everybody will like the direction you're going. I mean, Marvel has their people that hate what they do,
I just the one thing that the DCEU lacks is it's one big word, and Disney's already copyrighted it for a Star Wars show, and it's called Vision. So
they got direction like when it like Iron Man came out, they had a rough sketch of where they wanted to go, whereas DCU they have all these different directors, they have maybe a vague idea, but they don't plan out past the next movie. Like, it's just like, let's focus on this project, and they're always, I don't think the people that work on these movies, obviously the people that work on any movie don't have to be a fan, but I think overall the people that work in MCU movies are somewhat fans of the material, or at least know of it, whereas DC, it seems like, we're just here for a paycheck. I mean, no problem with that, but it kind of reflects in the work.
No, you're absolutely right. Like when they brought in, first I think it was Jeff Johns, they brought in and said, he's going to be our Kevin Feige. He's going to be controller of creative. And then he didn't do anything. And then they brought in Jim Lee to do it. And I sat there, I was like, why are you fucking bringing in Jim Lee? Like, I mean, I like him as an artist, but I'm like, yeah, he knows some things, but for creative control of your movie universe, that don't make no fucking sense. What are you doing? And to me, whenever you have to bring in someone that's, oh, this is going to be our guy, okay, that's more of a publicity stunt than anything. That's to make the investors happy. And to me, whenever you do something like that, you are feeling your product is inferior, and you don't believe the product itself. And those type of decisions always end up, losing out. And at the end of the day, everything that was done under Jim Lee's run, gone. Like, nothing was really done. I mean, he collected a great paycheck, and at the end of the day, nothing was done. And that's why this buyout from the Warner Brothers, the DC Warner Brothers division for Discovery, to AT&T, it's like, a year and a half, all the shit that they're doing now, comic wise, movie wise, a lot of that shit's going to be canceled and put on hold, and they're going to switch directions in almost every regard, because it's not making any money.
Steve, just so you know, the Block is actually a longtime friend of me and Zam. He normally can't join us for a lot of things just because he's on, is it Mountain Time, right?
Who, him, or he's in New Mexico? That's all I know, or whatever the fuck that is.
So he's like 2 hours behind us, so he doesn't normally have a chance to join us for a lot of live things. So that's why this is, with this being so late, he can actually join us. But so. All right, so go ahead.
I want to pivot. If we could pivot onto something else now.
I was just gonna say, let's pivot on to something else.
Well, I'm not sure if you saw it yourself, Vance, but this week we had the Royal Rumble, brother, and and that was like, I mean, me and myself and Chio, we're no longer wrestling fans. We were once hardcore wrestling fans. We were part of myself, Chio, Block. We were part of the wrestling revolution and all that shit. And we just fell out of love with wrestling. Like, so we got too many fuck yous from the business to keep caring. Like, we were always expecting change. We never got change. Everything was status quo, and you knew it. They didn't give a fuck about the fans, and so we ended up stopped watching the product. But for the Royal Rumble, we made an exception, went down nostalgia road, and we watched it. And considering I had to stay up until 5 a.m. watching that shit, it was one of the biggest regrets of my entire fucking life, especially of 2022. It was one of the biggest piles of fucking shit I've seen in recent years. No wonder this company is going down the pan. But it's incredible how they keep making record profits, and yet they have fucking the lowest viewership ever. I just don't understand how this shit works.
They keep firing people.
But, yeah, that's for sure. But still,
did they actually fire Shane McMahon?
Yeah, they released him.
What happened?
Probably when they say released, it's probably like a mutual parting. You know what I mean? Like, so was he released or fired?
He was apparently released. He basically ended up he became like sort of like one of the producers of the recent Royal Rumble, and then he ended up interjecting himself at in the latter stages. He came third in the fucking Royal Rumble. And there's people like Bad Bunny and all these stupid celebrities like Johnny Knoxville in there. When honestly, I really want to see Johnny Knoxville have the living shit beaten out of him. I'm fed up of this fucking dickhead, but I understand that he was there to sell a movie, and WWE were using his publicity, even though they don't realize that most wrestling fans want to see wrestlers, not fucking actors in the ring, even if they're hardcore like Knoxville. But the whole show was just terrible. There was a lot of stupid moments. There was no holy shit moments, no Iron Man, none of these sort of things. It was just a terribly formulaic product. And then Brock Lesnar comes in at number 30 after losing a singles match earlier on in the same pay-per-view and wins the fucking thing. And Brock Lesnar's a fucking part-timer. He doesn't need a Royal Rumble victory. Royal Rumble victories are really good at establishing new stars, and someone like Brock Lesnar didn't need it, and he got it. And unfortunately, you saw the writing on the wall the moment he came into the ring. You knew he was going to fucking win it.
He came in at number 30. So, I mean, it was, almost.
Well, it's not that he came at number 30, just that he came in.
Yeah.
The moment he came in, it was like, okay, yeah, we know who's going to win it now.
I want to know what their plans were for Kofi, because Kofi was probably, he obviously was not supposed to go out when he did.
No, what it was is that he was just to do one of his highlight moments. Every Royal Rumble, Kofi Kingston does that, but that's really it. If they had plans for Kofi Kingston, it should be to fucking win it. He's done too much fucking tomfoolery every year not to deserve.
I thought he did win it once in
his life. No, he's never won it.
Oh, but he ended
up when he won at WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan, he got interjected into that match because they just needed someone to fill in the Elimination Chamber. And then there was a hype train around Kofi Kingston, or maybe, this guy's been in the business now for over a decade, give him the fucking belt. And then he ended up winning it. But then after his comments towards Randy Orton later on, he ended up losing it. He's back to mid-card status, even though in my opinion, he should be established top-tier wrestler now. But that's how it is. It's those things that tells you, go fuck yourself, to the fans. They want to they're doing Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar part 500. I mean, I don't even watch the product, and I know that this is the billionth time they fucking faced each other. and they're going to be doing it WrestleMania. Like, there's just no creative whatsoever. They're not making new stars. They keep rehashing old stars. Bill Goldberg's going to come back at 55, for fuck's sake. I mean,
yeah, he just came back on. He just came back, didn't he?
Goldberg.
Yeah.
Well, he's got apparently one more match in his contract, and so they're going to be going. I mean, yeah, they're going to Saudi Arabia all the time as well. And you still have Vince at one point treated his wrestlers in Saudi Arabia by just leaving them there, you know, to deal with the consequences, and it's just really upsetting. You know.
Apparently Bill Goldberg came back on Smackdown. Is that?
Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, in fact, Smackdown was today or yesterday, depending how you look at it. So I'm not that familiar with it. But
I happened to see a news update on it. So
it's something I once thoroughly enjoyed. It's just a shame where it's at this moment in time, and it's run by, you know, Donald Trump on steroids, and so it's no wonder that, you know, the morale within the company is low and they're making so much money, because Vince doesn't give a shit about his employees. All he cares about is profits. And I'm really waiting for that day where the bubble's going to burst with all this shit, where they don't make new stars, and if there's nobody watching. Like, this needs to happen eventually, and I want it to happen before Vince fucking dies. I really do. So yeah, that's how I feel about
what happens one day.
Well, that was part of the reason why I stopped watching to begin with, is because like the wrestlers, like the storylines were always the same. They kept bringing back people, and like I always felt like if you're going to bring back somebody, make it worth their while to come back and make it important, make it impactful. But it was just like every week it seemed like The Rock was retiring and then he'd come back, or same thing with Ric Flair. Like, oh, I'm retiring, I'm never coming back, and then like he comes back, and it's like I'm okay if they come back, because of course these people are legends and they're in the business. You want to see them, but it's like you can't have somebody retire and then like a month later they come back, and it's like after you know, the yo-yo effect on people's emotions. It's like after a while it doesn't matter. It's just like DX. I'm a fan of DX when they're done right. Same thing with NWO when it's done right. But you know, how many times are you going to bring DX back for, one last night, one last time, and it's just like, I don't care, because this isn't what DX was all about. DX was about anarchy and creating chaos, and now it's about, okay, people who are, you know, older than I am, who are trying to act like they're, you know, maybe 10 years older than my kid. It's like, this is not what fucking DX is about. Stop this shit. And the storylines are just repetitive, and I wish they get some new creative fucking talent who care about the business and put some new life into it, you know. So I stopped watching, and all the wrestlers just look like created wrestlers off the video games. I don't get how they don't see that.
Just to interject as well, like that once Vince McMahon got rid of all his competition, like he's now king of the mountain. All these other wrestling organizations have either been bought by him, all these territories have been bought by him, or all the competition had just gone bankrupt. He stopped caring about what the fans wanted. You know, some people elevated themselves and he realized they were getting a reaction, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like The Rock, like Cena and Batista, even as well post Attitude Era. But after a while, he stopped caring. So when people like Zack Ryder came on the scene and he was super over with the fans, he wasn't over with WWE. He wasn't over with Vince McMahon, because at the end of the day, this company is about Vince McMahon and nobody else. You know, if he's not entertained, then fuck you. So Zack Ryder gets tossed aside. Damian Sandow, the guy is supremely fucking talented, and yet they don't elevate him as well, and he gets tossed aside. It's counter. Someone like Daniel Bryan, he had to be forced down McMahon's throat with the fans hijacking every fucking show, saying Daniel Bryan and yes, and all of that sort of stuff, for them to have no choice but to elevate him, because if they didn't, they would know that their shows would get fucked over. And so that's what it took. That's really what it took. But, you know, eventually even the fans get tired. They can't keep doing that all the fucking time. And it's always the same old motherfuckers. You know, like Vince McMahon, before Daniel Bryan came on the scene, in the main event WrestleMania. Vince McMahon wanted Batista versus Randy Orton. These motherfuckers have fought each other countless times on SmackDown, for fuck's sake. And now you want to make that a WrestleMania main event? It's absolutely ridiculous. Like they're so unaware of what the fans need. They don't care what the fans want. They only care what they want. And like I said, they're losing the opportunity of creating stars when people are over with the fans, but not over with the establishment. And now they're in the shit. They're in shit, and I just can't wait for this company to eventually have its bubble burst, and I'll be interested to see what happens after that.
I'm a firm believer that, like, anyone that has gone to Hollywood or gone to who's not a full time shouldn't have the fucking belt. Because, like, if you're representing the company, you should be there full time. And to me, the thing, I don't know if it's currently the way, because I don't watch wrestling now, because they lost me a long time ago. But the thing that always bothered me was, like, when Rock would come back, and he was in Hollywood for wrestling is real, Steve. You stop that nonsense.
It's real.
But, like, the thing is, like. But the thing is, like, Rock would go off to Hollywood, and then he'd come back and, like, win the belt. And to me, it was always one of those things of, like, why he doesn't represent the people. Like that should always come back and be the one to elevate the person there. It should never be about the belt for those people who are part-timers. It should always be about elevating the new talent, elevating the next generation, getting those people primed so that when they go back off to Hollywood, the audience is hungry and ready for that talent, the next match. Like you said, Randy Orton and Batista have had how many matches at SmackDown? Like, they should be getting the next generation ready to go, so that when they're not there, boom, we're ready to go. Look at AEW. Like, what little I've seen of that, I'm really wanting to watch that wrestling organization, because they have a bunch of hungry wrestlers who are like, give me my shot. Because WWE squandered every little opportunity.
Batista's no different to The Rock. At that time, he was also a Hollywood actor who's coming in the WWE, and Vince McMahon's cashing in on the fact that they got an A-lister now as a wrestler, not just The Rock, but him as well. And they tried to make him headline WrestleMania. And I feel sorry for Batista, because he kind of became a legitimate bad guy, not a heel, so to speak, in front of the fans, because fans looked at him as a guy who was taking away the spotlight from Daniel Bryan, when that wasn't Batista's intentions. He was just coming back in, because he likes the business, but he wasn't trying to take anybody's spotlight. As far as he's concerned, he doesn't give a fuck about the spotlight in the business anymore. He's a fucking Hollywood actor now. So yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him in that aspect. But yeah, the company is a big pile of shit. They sold their soul when it came to Saudi Arabia, but I'm not surprised. We're talking Vince McMahon here. Selling souls is what he does. The amount of wrestlers that have died under the age of 50 under his stewardship is a disgrace. And it's all to keep his fucking pockets full end of the day, because he doesn't give there's no rest period, there's no time off, nothing. People are fighting for their fucking spots all the time, because if they're not at the top, then they're worried they'll end up getting released and stuff like that. That's the name of the game, unfortunately, and it's where wrestling is at now, and that's why myself and Cheeto, and even yourself as well, and even Block as well, we're just not the fans we used to be, and we never will be, unfortunately.
Like every wrestling thing I have is from like 10, 15 years ago. Like, it's nothing new. It doesn't. The only thing that really made me inspired was from the competition, and it was that I think it might have been you that sent me that link. It was when we had the DX versus NWO thing that we were talking about. I think you guys sent me the link of shoot, who was it? It was that trash talking thing. It was like 18 minutes long or 15 minutes long.
Oh, between CM Punk and MJF.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
a fantastic
MJF,
promo.
yeah.
One
Yes.
of the best promos I've ever seen.
And I'll tell you, I mean, you guys know I collect action figures, but I saw it right next to the Masters of the Universe Origins figures. I saw that dude on, I saw his action figure, and I was like, thanks, Sean. I saw his action figure there, and okay, thank you. But I saw his action figure there, and I was like, man, I might buy that, because it was cheap, and cheap for the action figures. But I was like, man, I mean, it was so impressive, and I was like, I want to look this dude's matches up. And I actually downloaded that whole app just to get that programming. I talked to my father-in-law to get the I think it was TNT or whatever the thing is, but just so I could watch AEW. I mean, I haven't because there's been like you guys said, there's so much out there. But I mean, if I do ever watch wrestling again, it's going to be that, not WWE. Fuck them.
Exactly.
All right.
So I'm gonna quickly move on to something else now before I forget, because I'm worried this is something that's been on my mind, and I'm worried I'm gonna forget this. Halo trailer. Did you guys see that shit?
Nope.
They're gonna make a Halo television show. It's coming out on Paramount Plus. Yeah, and
live action or CGI?
It's live action, And the moment you watch this trailer, and you should have a quick look at it, Vance, it's out there on the YouTubes, but it immediately reminds you of Mandalorian. Like, they're going down the Paramount Plus realizes, a stoic bad guy who wears a helmet, says very little, extremely bad eyes, set of skills, all of these sort of things, just like the Mandalorian is the way to go. Well, we've already got a guy like that already established in video games in Master Chief. Let's make a television show out of him. Now, there was a web series, I believe, of Halo a long time ago, which was reasonably low budget. But this is a proper show.
Was it a Red versus Blue?
I'm not sure, but my problem with even though this show looks interesting, one of the things Halo was set on was on a very lush world, full of greenery, waterfalls, beautiful scenery. So far, this world they're set on is a desert world, similar to Tatooine, similar to Dune, and I feel like we've already been there before regarding the planets. But I'm not sure how I feel about this trailer whilst watching it, because I don't know if this is going to be any good, but I hope it is. That's all I really can say at this moment in time. I'll try and elaborate after hearing what you guys have to say. Maybe you should have a quick look before you get to it. But yeah, Block, what you got to say?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, I was a big fan of the first few Halo games. And as far as that series, Red vs. Blue, I would only look it up, but make sure you don't have kids in the room because it's not really PG. But it's mostly a parody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to know about Halo. It's just like the Halo universe and how they're like interacting with random circumstances. It's kind of like a parody spoof, but it's good in it. I think it had that company's blessing, Bungie. So Bungie knew about it. So like, it was. I thought it was funny when I watched them. But yeah, Halo overall, I kind of like the lore, but the latest games I kind of fell out of because I think they tried to get too far-reaching and like philosophical and whatnot. But in the first game, I liked the Flood. That was a great, as we call in wrestling, swerve, because you thought you were just going to face aliens. Oh, it's another Marine facing space
Halo
aliens, and then you got the Flood. The Flood was introduced in Halo 1.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Remember. Yeah, I mean, I just I just want to see some good and I know this is a terrible word nowadays to use, but some good fan service regarding what we recognize from Master Chief. Like, he can dual world. I want to see that. I want to see a variety of different Covenant aliens, and I want to see him picking up guns and dropping, running out of bullets and then picking up another gun and all of these sort of things, because that's what Halo was all about to a degree when it came to the actual gameplay. So I'm looking forward to those sort of things to remind us what Halo's all about. And it's good to see the Spartans in there as well. They all have different sort of looks to them too. So we'll see. We'll just see how that plays out. Bobby?
I don't play Halo. Don't care about Halo. I mean, I don't even think I've seen that trailer. So pass.
Fair enough. And Vance. Vance.
You guys locked up on me. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Do you know anything about the Halo trailer? Did you play Halo? You want to ask him the question, Bobby, if he can't hear it from me?
I don't think it's you. I think it's him, because I can hear you just fine. So, yeah, I don't know. I have nothing to say about it. I mean, Block said his piece. I don't think Vance has much to say about it as far as I can tell. So I would just say let's pivot on to another topic.
All right, I'll let you guys choose this time, as I've chosen the last two.
Well, if V-Man was going to be here, I was going to say we could talk about Star Trek Prodigy. You've been doing your reviews on Nerdtube for Prodigy. I kind of wanted V-Man's opinion, what he thought of Prodigy, if he's caught up on it.
Okay, I'm back. All right. For some reason, every once in a while, it keeps skipping or glitching. I'm sorry, guys. You guys know my internet issues. I'm sorry.
Okay. Before we're about to talk about Star Trek Prodigy, but have you got anything to say on Halo? Did you play it? Do you know about the television show?
I don't know enough about it. Like next week we can touch base for a few minutes about it. Like I'll watch the trailer like next week, or I mean this week, and we could touch base next week. I don't know enough about it, so I'll watch the trailer and give you my impression. But I mean I'm pleading ignorance. So
fair enough. All right, then Bobby, continue.
Oh, Zam's been doing the Prodigy reviews, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about it. Vance, are you up to date on Prodigy or no?
I did finally catch up on it. I watched it yesterday. I actually enjoyed it. I hated it up till the Kobayashi Maru part, and then after that, it got good because I was pretty impatient. The characters were fine, and then going back and watching it again from the beginning and seeing where they ended up, I enjoyed the series just fine. I'm excited for next season. So to those people that say this isn't like Star Trek at all, like that was where I was. I didn't think it even fit outside just a starship. So watch the whole series. It's kind of like, for me, I didn't like Lower Decks at first, and then going back and rewatching it with an open mind, it was different. So I enjoyed it. I have to say, Zam was right about this. He said, man, you'll love it. You'll like it. You'll like it. And I was like, man, I think I got to part ways with you on this one, man. I don't think so. But I have to admit, after the last 3 episodes, I did. I liked where they ended up. But I have to say, if they hadn't have gone those routes, I wouldn't have liked it. But I did like where they went. So, I'm a fan. So.
All right. I'm Steve. Our friend of the channel, Steve Atwell, says he's seen all of Prodigy. So I'm going to bring him in here in a moment, and then he can kind of give his he can give his opinions. Because Block, have you seen any of Prodigy? Have you been watching Star Trek Prodigy at all?
I have not, but I did get roped into watching some Lower Decks while I started watching it, so I like it so far.
Cool. Lower Decks and Prodigy are 2 different animals. I will admit that
I know.
I will admit that Prodigy did get better in the second half. I was not all goo goo gaga over the tribute episode that they did, because I didn't like them reusing the audio from other from old Treks. Like if they were to use that audio, then they should have put those people in those situations and just use the audio for those actors, and then use that same scene just in computer generation. Time Amok was a fantastic episode of Trek. I will admit 10 out of 10 for Trek. Rock Talk is one of my favorite characters right now. Murph by extension, just because Murph is adorable.
This is my Murph.
But really, I mean, like the whole Prodigy thing, there's a big, huge loophole with that whole thing. Like, why did the Diviner need to get to the ship if they were heading to Starfleet anyway? Because
they wanted a super weapon.
Maybe because he didn't have directions on how to get there.
I would say he wanted to do something very similar to like the Burn, where that would have been his way to destroy all of Starfleet. I mean, it's kind of like if you have a firecracker that goes off in the middle of a crowd, it's going to do more damage than if you're 20 feet away. So that's my thought on it.
The premise of the virus, was that it was that as it comes into contact with one Starfleet ship, it will then spread to that, and then to another when it comes in contact, and then to another when it comes into contact, and another, and it'll spread throughout the Federation, and then they'll destroy each other. That was the virus on Prodigies, but they were already on their way to Starfleet. So why did the Diviner have to have the ship? I mean, did he want to hand deliver it to Starfleet and start? Maybe he was that vain and he just wanted them to know it was him. But then again, this guy is from 50 years in the future, so who cares? It kind of bugged me a little bit on that plot hole, and it wasn't show breaking, but it was definitely like, really, like why are we doing this?
Like I say, my best guess is he didn't know where it was or how to get there, but he knew that in the data banks of the protostar there would be, a map.
Hello, Eagle.
Hello,
that's my
Eagle.
best guess. Otherwise, hopefully, it'll be explained next year. I enjoyed up until the last episode because the Diviner's motivations were too unoriginal, in my opinion. I'm thinking, okay, yes, the Burn. Okay, yes, Enterprise season 2. We must go. The Xindi did this to make a prevention. He's going there. That one episode of Voyager where they found the planet that an Earth probe had crashed on and infected everybody with something. I mean, it's like I've seen this before, 3-4 times. I don't think the fans are being served something brand new with it.
I mean, I will give the show that it does have stellar imagery. But they do a really good job with that. I am not a fan of Dal. Like even at the end when his character arc was not complete, but like when he was going through his character being like, I don't like Dal. Like even in the episode Time Amok, he was just laying in bed, just like, playing in the game or whatever. And I'm just like, I can't get, and then all of a sudden the next episode, he's all of a sudden Super Captain Starfleet. Like I can't get behind this character. He's too next episode. He's going to be all nonchalant again. Like there's no consistency to his character. I found more character growth in Murph than I have in Dal. And I'm in Gwen. Like my two favorite characters right now technically are Rock Talk and Gwen. Jake and Pog is an okay character. I mean, he's kind of funny sometimes. And that ending with Zero, like, and just it was pretty intense. So yeah. I don't know, Zan, what do you have to include? I mean, I know you've been doing your reviews and if you've been keeping up with your reviews on Nerdtube.
Well, I like a lot of you guys, initially I was a bit weary of this show, but I decided to stick with it, and I was optimistic that it would get better, because that's how Star Trek shows tend to be. They tend to be a bit unusual at first, and what the fuck are we watching here? And then eventually they do improve, and this show was no different. And I give this show a lot of credit as well. Like it's a whole new ball game. Star Trek Project D. We're talking about a bunch of slave kids from the other side of the universe, taking over a starship, and only really being sort of mentored by a fucking hologram. I mean, this is just totally different to whatever Star Trek we've got before this, and I wanted to stick with this as well. With this as well, because Star Trek needs young fans involved in it. Like, look at us, all fucking old fuckers here. We need a new generation of young people to take on the baton and appreciate Star Trek the way we appreciate it. And this show ended up becoming that. Like, when we saw our kids, I keep calling them that in my reviews, our kids in their Starfleet uniforms, I was going to shed a fucking tear. Like, yes, we're crossing that line here. This is making me so happy. Like, even with the most recent episode where you find out that Starfleet had destroyed the planet of which Gwen and her father had come from, and instead of taking revenge, Gwen was all about diplomacy. We need to speak to Starfleet. Don't let this happen again. Don't fight fire with fire. Talk to them. Resolve the issue verbally, diplomatically. And it made me realize, yes, even Gwen understands what it means to be Starfleet, and I very much appreciated that. So I'm liking where this is going. Some of the recent episodes I felt very Star Trek-like, especially Time and Mark, which are my favorite types of Star Trek episodes, where they're running against the clock, and if they don't resolve the situation which is on the ship, they're gonna all fucking die or something along those lines. I love episodes like that. They're my favorite. And we've been getting a smorgasbord of different types of Star Trek type of episodes, whether it be first contact ones, and dealing with somebody who's very much a conniving person who doesn't seem to be who they truly are, like that Ferengi lady and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very much liking this. I mean, I did initially was making a mockery of this by calling the Diviner, Palpatine, calling Dreadnought fucking General Grievous, but I ended up respecting the show by calling them by their true names, because the show was going in the right direction. So I now call the Diviner. I now call Dreadnought, because that's who they are. They're no longer Grievous and fucking Palpatine to me anymore. So yeah, bring on. The way episode 10 ended with fucking Admiral Janeway, mate, I was shooting my fucking loads in every direction. I was so fucking happy. I was getting fan service. I was getting very happy.
There's coffee in that quadrant.
We got the real Admiral Janeway. They reminded us that Chakotay the Chakotay angle needs to be resolved as well. So yeah, bring it on. I can't wait. Fantastic.
Well, you talk about uniforms. One of the things that, because me being a uniform guy, I love the fact that if you look at the Dauntless uniforms that Admiral Janeway had, like the communicator, like those communicators that they had there were the All Good Things communicator, which is funny because in the holodeck, you saw several communicators that they had. You saw the Future Imperfect communicator. You saw the All Good Things communicator. You saw like several different timelines communicators. So it really makes you wonder, like, where does this ship come from? What's this ship do? Like
how does it have all this databanks knowledge?
Yeah, exactly. So it makes you wonder, like, not only like where does the ship come from, like what timeline are they in? Because this Dauntless, from where Admiral Janeway is at, like those uniforms, they're very similar to like they're again another uniform that they're going to make us buy, if we want to, if we want them. That's something that all these new Star Trek shows are doing. They just keep shoving new uniforms that us fucking geeks are going to go buy. But they put the All Good Things comm badge on it. And me, I always pick up on those things because I have to on those fine details. I'm like, that's That's weird. And then Janeway's uniform is very reminiscent to the ship that's in Star Trek Picard season 2 from that alternate timeline that they're supposed to be going in. And if you look at her go ahead.
Actually, the ship that they're on is the USS Dauntless, which was the ship that one guy created.
Artemis.
Yeah.
Arturus, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that he faked. Yeah, he faked it being a
Starfleet vessel.
Yeah, and I love that design. I love that design. It's a beautiful ship, and that's one where they get the slipstream from.
Yeah, I just love how they ganked it. Like they were just like, Janeway's like, I have an idea. I bet you she took all the credit too. She's like, I got an idea for a new ship, and then like Chakotay is like, isn't that the done? Janeway's like. Shh.
Well, even the interior is very reminiscent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean but I mean, if you look at the uniform of holographic Janeway when she's supposedly evil, it looks very much like that, like something from that timeline that Picard's supposed to for season 2. So I do wonder how much of these seasons will eventually start lining up with. Okay, we've got this series coming up, so we're going to link it to that in some fashion. Just start kind of giving nods to this comes out here, and then this comes out here, and then this comes out here. You know what I mean? Because they did that with Next Gen. They set up the Maquis at the very end of season 7, and then they played through to that in season 2 of DS9, and then that set up Voyager in season 1 of that. So it all paid off for the Maquis, and they did that intentionally all the way back at the end of Next Gen. So I mean, they planned that well in advance, and I kind of wonder the more TV shows they do, if that's going to be a consistent thing. So
I just want to get to a comment here. I wonder what behind the scene production timeline looked like for Lower Decks time frame.
According to official Star Trek stuff that's been published, Lower Decks is set like 2 years or so after the Voyager Endgame, and Prodigy is supposed to be set 2 years after Lower Decks. And according to Memory Alpha official, the Dauntless was recreated by Starfleet as the Dauntless A, which is what Janeway is now on board. Inspired
Janeway just ganked the design and said, "This was my idea."
I just find it. I mean, maybe you guys can correct me on this, but she's Admiral Janeway. She should be in the office pushing fucking pencils, not fucking captaining starships.
No, actually, I think the reason why she's on that ship is because they've been looking for Prodigy, and this Prodigy is her project. So I feel like that's why she's commanding the Dauntless. I wouldn't be surprised.
Fair enough.
I mean, either that or it's her like personal ship or something like that, because she's Admiral Janeway and she gets whatever she wants.
Well, not to mention she's looking for Chakotay. I mean, how many times? I mean, if Kirk was looking for Spock, he'd be like, "Man, fuck the rules. I'm doing what I want." And given the fact that Janeway's looking for Chakotay, she'd be like, "Rules be damned." So,
yeah, she was a rule breaker for sure. 2 years after a Lower Deck season 1 or 2, season 1, I guess.
I'm not sure. I think it might be after the series is supposed to end, but I really, there is a timeline that can be pulled up that shows when all the years are.
I want to know how they know the timeline for Prodigy, because I have not heard any indication of when Prodigy takes place, unless there's been some official release from Paramount, CBS, and or Alex Kurtzman or whoever's the producer on the show. Like, I haven't heard anything, so I would like to know where they're getting this information just to verify.
Yeah, there was an official release. And I have it somewhere in my data banks.
Okay. I'll find it eventually. So Korath, Krorath, I always say your name wrong. What your overall thoughts on Lower Decks, Prodigy? I mean, we kind of jumped in here in the middle. didn't get a chance to give you a proper introduction because you are our resident Klingon.
Yeah, and like I say, I am now a Tellarite in training because Vance wants me to be a Tellarite, and I'm here to say something about Jankum Pog. Not
you do
really.
You do have the beard of do have an epic beard of a Tellarite.
I'm turning into Rick Rubin.
Very epic.
Ravishing Rick Rubin.
I think that I'm not sure about oh, come on. What was the question?
What'd you think of Prodigy?
I enjoyed it overall. I thought it got better and better as things went along. Because it's cool. I think we have, because of the character growth, because the storylines did start to feel more like a proper Star Trek, as opposed to just throw some action at the screen and set it in the Star Trek universe. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad that they are trying to do something finally for kids instead of throwing stuff that's not kid friendly or kid accessible. Because like I say, when I was young, there was only one Star Trek in the universe. Well, the original and the animated in the 70s. And they were both very accessible no matter how old you were. We didn't have naked Klingon tits like we have, in Discovery and people saying shit and fucking all.
I mean, who says shit and fuck anymore, really? I mean, I don't think any of us do that.
I mean, not by the 24th century.
I'm we could have a whole swearing debate about. I think it's in human nature to, and any word that seems to be like a swear word, we always want to try to say those things when we're frustrated or mad or surprised or something like that. Whether it's sprocket or
fiddlesticks.
Yeah, fiddlesticks. Yeah. I mean, or fuck. It's human nature.
According to I found the official timeline release. Endgame occurs in 2378. Nemesis occurs in 2379. Lower Decks takes place 2380 to 2381, and Prodigy begins 2383. And then the Mars attacks. Mars is attacked in 2385. Icheb is captured by the Borg in 2386, and the Romulan star goes supernova in 2387. Yeah.
I thought Picard took place in 2399.
Yeah. Picard takes place a few years later, 2399.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if we're going to get a New Year's a new deck or a new century thing in Picard season 2, because they should be crossing into the new century that year. So
yeah, I mean, you'd expect on Earth there'd be celebrations, but on Vulcan, so what?
Yeah, right. Okay, so unless you guys have anything else to add about Prodigy, I do want to bring up one last thing before we get out of here. I know that
on Prodigy or Star Trek.
Oh, I was just going to.
No, on Prodigy, because I have another Trek thing I want to bring up.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that Jankum Pog is the best example of a Tellarite, because he's very different from other Tellarites, not only with the whole third person, Jankum Pog likes this thing, but he's not as argumentative and, as Tellarites have been before, but still, I am enjoying the character. But he's not. Would you
say that's because he's like brought up, away from Tellarites on a slaving colony, and
that might be a good point.
That yeah, to a degree. But where's the third person thing coming from?
Maybe he was raised
madness because he was able to communicate with people. for a long time.
Maybe he was brought up by the Rock's native people. From the planet Boulder. I don't know.
The Rock from
The Rock.
Sunkatsu, episode 4.
Okay, so one thing I did want to bring up with you guys, and I know we're running over a little bit, because we're always very timely with these things. They have announced a Starfleet Academy show that's going to be happening. I'm very excited. However, I really don't want it to be placed in the 32nd century. I was kind of hoping that they would place it in the next gen century, 23rd century. Even maybe
as long as Wesley Crusher's involved, I'm game.
Or maybe set it in the Picard timeline, but have it as. But a lot of people are saying that Tilly left, Discovery to. Oh wow, your lights just went off. That Tilly left on Discovery to go to that show, just like I don't even remember her name. Who was the captain or the Empress?
Giorgio.
Oh, Giorgio. Yeah, Giorgio left
Giorgio,
Discovery to go do the Section 31 show. But I was actually really. I've been talking about a Starfleet Academy show forever, but I would like it in more of a contemporary Star Trek time, as we were saying, like Picard's timeline, or even Lower Decks timeline, where we could actually get some crossover. And actually, I would love to see some some Blimler and some Mariner and Ruther. I know some of these actors. Like, if you could make these actors kind of look like themselves from the cartoon, but the actors in real life, and then have them interact with the cadets or something like that in an episode, I would mark out. Like, if you give Daniel Quaid, or not Daniel Quaid, what is his name? Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid.
Yeah. If you do Jack Quaid, just give him some purple hair, even though it won't look exactly like Blimler. I'd be okay with it. I'd be like, you know what? I'll allow it.
I think we'd all forgive that, just because it would be fucking cool to see,
Lower Decks cartoons crossing over with
have it be some anomaly that makes that forgives the blemishes of the Lower Decks characters and makes everyone, you'd be like, oh wow, what happened to you? And be like, oh, don't ask, and then we just move on with the it doesn't that would be in tune with the Lower Decks mentality of fuck it, let's just move on with the story, where we don't even question it, That would be fun. That would be fun. That would be great. Sadly, I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
I would like, from a different perspective, instead of having recognizable students, I would like to have maybe recognizable teachers. So in one episode, you have Janeway doing a lecture, and then maybe Riker doing another one, and so on. They come in and have
the most important man in the Federation, Miles O'Brien.
Whoever, Julian Bashir, doing training people to become doctors, not even just for maybe one episode, for several, and maybe having these Voyager, TNG, and DS9 characters intertwining at certain points would be really fucking cool as lecturers. Not no longer as members of, they're still members of Starfleet, but they're teachers now, for a short period of time and stuff like that. Bringing in new guest lecturers, so to speak, who are all experienced Starfleet officers now training the new recruits. That's how I would want it personally.
I just want to say, as far as proposed and definitely upcoming Star Trek projects are concerned, personally, I have no interest in a Section 31 series, no matter who's at the helm. I would much rather see either Captain Worf or a Klingon-centric series.
Me too.
I would like
both, actually.
I wouldn't mind seeing Captain Worf. The problem is that he jeopardized his captaincy with that mission with Jadzia Dax on that one episode of DS9. So could he still get a commission? Yes, and some admiral could probably stamp it through with their stamp of approval. But
could.
Honestly, I would actually more
done for.
I would what
the rule breakings, done by Starfleet officers, and all of a sudden he can never be captain because of that.
Yeah. I would much prefer there actually to be a Captain LaForge with his first officer being Ensign Kim, no, Commander Kim. I would love that crossover there. Like I would, because I think because LeVar Burton still looks young. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, like you could still pass him off as like a captain age, like in his 40s. I mean, LeVar Burton's he's in his 50s,
60s.
so he's not that old. When you got like Patrick Stewart, who looks like he's in his 60s, but he's 40 years old. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like we're like asking much for like Captain LaForge and like a Commander Kim. And Kim also, what's his name? What is the name of the actor? I can't
Harry
remember.
Kim.
Garrett Wang.
Yeah, Garrett Wang. He looks young too. So it's almost like you could pull this off, making them look a little bit younger. You don't even have to de-age them, really. But
I'd make him straight as a captain, dude. I mean, with all the talk about people wanting to promote him, fuck it, just put him right to the top.
No, but that's why I want LaForge as captain, because I want LaForge as the captain, and I want Kim as his first officer. Could he be a captain, first officer? Yes, but I think we're getting with Saru and Michael also being co-captains. Well, not co-captains, but like captain and first officer. But they're both captains, and then you got that with Spock and Kirk. It's just a little much. I would want a Commander Kim and a Captain LaForge. But I want so much more stuff that's in like the Picard era of things. I know that Discovery kind of went way to the future, but I don't feel like all the projects moving forward need to be from that era. It would be interesting to see maybe one or two projects from that era, but Starfleet Academy, I was very hoping that it would be in like the Picard Lower Decks timeline, like that time frame, rather than way in the future. I don't know, V-Man, you've been... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
I just say, I would also really like to see at some point a miniseries, just a miniseries. We don't need an ongoing, but something, the eugenics wars of the 1990s.
That would be nice. From the
90s. Better than that fucking fan film we saw.
And maybe do it like the...
No, that's the Romulan War, Zam.
No. We saw a fan film on the eugenics war. I remember I was with V-Man at the time.
Oh.
But I'm thinking of the books by Greg Cox, The Rise and Fall, and Noonien Singh. And maybe adapt those. Those are pretty good. And another that they could do... bring back Gary 7 and do a Gary 7 series.
I mean,
I gotta say,
a lot of people have said that since the eugenics wars took place, and supposedly, obviously now we're past that, but took place in the 90s, and it looks like there's going to be time travel shenanigans. A lot of people are saying that Q might be putting them through alternate timelines, because he does say that the road not traveled. So a lot of people are saying that Q might take him through different timelines, and since we're in the 90s, one of those might be the beginning of the eugenics war. So I don't know. Where'd V-Man go? Anyway,
probably work-related stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I felt the need to help balance out the no-budget production Nerdtube balance here, because
there
was one of us and three of you, so now there's two of one of me. And Vance is, that
Vance can take on three of us. It's okay. He's the Stanley of fan films.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, go on. Block. You got anything to add?
Block. I mean, I know you don't know Star Trek as much, but I mean, from what we've been talking about, does anything pique your interest? Does anything?
Well, I'm kind of like familiar with the general, like overall, I guess you'd say, timeline and like the different factions and such. I'm not too deep into it, but I definitely like Star Trek better than like Star Wars as a whole. But I just don't follow it as deeply. But I have more of a question to ask, since I don't have too much to add. Is there like a current Star Trek game that's like you can play, that's either online, like MMO, or just like a single player? It doesn't have to be console.
Look, I'm going to give you, it's got the most original name ever. It's called Star Trek Online.
Star Trek.
It's free as well.
So you build your own ship and all that?
Yeah, it's free, and it's free to download, and it's free to play.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And then if you
It's a
want
grind.
extra stuff in it, you buy extra stuff in it. But
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't bought anything, and I'm very satisfied with my purchase. I got my money's worth.
Yeah,
We can all battle online.
That's part of it. Is the Star Trek Online. The a production company at Paramount has been working with Star Trek Online quite a bit, and because Star Trek Online has established a timeline and chronology continuity of their own canon, I think they're trying to incorporate that into being canon of official Star Trek, and that's why they're trying to steer around what happens after Picard between that and because what happens after that is Star Trek Online. So, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they've got a new Star Trek game coming out as well, which is a Telltale game, which left me very disappointed because I don't mind Telltale games, but when it comes to Star Trek, I really wanted just something else, not a fucking story, like a storybook game, which is what Telltale is. I wanted an actual game, where you can go to. I know that was Star Trek Online, but there's a blandness to it. It feels very clunky at times. I wanted something a bit more crisper, which is worth paying for. And we haven't got that yet, but I'm hoping one day we will.
Okay. Yeah, Star Trek Online. Go ahead.
No, sorry, you want to say something about Star Trek Online? But I want to add something totally different in the mix in a second regarding Star Trek. But have you got anything more to say?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the block, it's definitely worth a look. I mean, as I said, it's free to download and free to play. So you have nothing to lose and just time to waste.
All right.
Adam Tarver says, sorry, I apologize. I used to love PvP in Star Trek Online, popping everyone with my bird of prey.
Yeah, I didn't know they had PvP in Star Trek Online. I mean, I don't play it all the time. Like I play it here and there, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Like, and because it's a free-to-play game, there's a lot of grinding when it comes to just getting anything, and I refuse to pay for anything either. Yeah, that's why I'm not into it too much. I'd rather pay for an actual proper game with stuff in it, so I don't have to do what Star Trek Online wants me to do, which is to pay them all the time for little bits and bobs. But yeah, over the years we've had so many memes and things like that regarding Star Wars and Star Trek, and I've always wondered, would it ever be possible in any capacity to do some sort of crossover between these two types of shows? Now, it is pretty much impossible because of how things are established, but I have thought of two ways they could do it. First of all, it would be set in the Star Trek universe, and they can go on the holodeck, and they could, like as far as the people of the Star Trek universe are concerned, they've heard of Star Wars. It was something that came from the late 20th century, early 21st century. They know it as pop culture, and then they immerse themselves in a Star Wars sort of thing on the holodeck, which would be a good way of maybe crossing them over. And secondly, there's the Q. Get the Q involved, snap his fucking fingers, get the fucking Empire in there, stuff like that.
If I may say so, Zam.
Yeah.
There have been hints of crossover in Star Trek. Because I've delved into this online. In First Contact, when the Borg is attacking and all of Starfleet Armada is attacking the Borg ship, the Millennium Falcon can be seen buzzing around attacking the Borg ship.
Yeah,
and in the Star Trek 2009 film, I think it's I can't remember the name of the ship, but one of the ships, when it's blowing up or discharging debris or whatever, R2-D2 can be seen spinning out of it. Though you have to pause and look and say, "Oh my God, look what it is!"
Yeah, fair enough.
Isn't
I know
Star
what
Trek
you mean, but I'm thinking of like the hidden Easter eggs, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you look at the hieroglyphics, you can see R2-D2 and C-3PO. I mean, not really like that, but like properly getting them involved in ways that we could finally get the crossover of crossovers, Star Wars and Star Trek. But it's got to be done
You mean Star Trek and Doctor Who? They did that in comic books and
I'm
RPG.
I'm no longer a Doctor Who fan anymore. It's amazing more Americans seem to be on the Doctor Who train than Brits. Um, it's just not something I used to. I used to love Doctor Who, but I just fell out of love with it for some reason. I do love the sound of the TARDIS, though. For me, nothing beats that sound. But it'll be just so great if they could pull something off like this, because wouldn't it be really cool to see I don't know who's like the most established captain right now who could possibly do it. Janeway, for instance, going up against Admiral Thrawn. That would be fucking awesome. Just in any capacity. I mean, they could do it. I would love to see that happen. And like I said, there is a couple of ways they could do it. They could do a play where they're in the holodeck, or they can get Q snapping his fingers and fucking things up for the whole fucking universe. There's many ways. So, but yeah, I would love to see that happen one day. They need to make that happen. Make it so, because people want that for sure. Whether it happens or not, it'll be another thing. But
Zam, that would create a multiverse of madness if we did that.
No doubt. Yeah, there are fan films and stuff like that, but I want Paramount and Disney to get together and look, Disney and Warner Brothers got together and they did fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's possible, and you know what I mean.
Possible.
Yeah. So, and I love that film, by the way. So
I do have the comics of Star Trek and the X-Men.
Really? Okay.
Anyway,
I never knew they got together, but fair enough.
25 years ago, yeah.
So you've been watching the Book of Boba Fett, Steve?
Yes, it is the way.
You've seen the most recent episodes, yeah?
Yeah.
Very, very good, because a lot of people are complaining about Luke's deep fake, saying that even though it's improved from last season's Mandalorian season 2 finale, it's still a bit uncanny valley. But what do you expect? It's fucking it is what it is, and it's improving all the time. We know what it is, and we should accept it for what it is. And I think we should get less complaints on it and appreciate that the fact that it has improved, and it's only going to get better, in my opinion. I do think Luke Skywalker sounds a little bit robotic, but I'm okay with that because he's playing a Jedi Master, and they're kind of like emotionless anyway. But when it came to the most recent episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, at first I was thinking to myself, this is a Boba Fett show without Boba Fett. But now I'm thinking to myself, does it really matter? As long as I'm enjoying what I'm getting, regardless of Boba Fett not being in there. And I have to say that I'm enjoying what I'm getting. The Mandalorian episode was fantastic. The Luke Skywalker episode was fantastic. Seeing Grogu back was great. Seeing Ahsoka Tano was fantastic. Seeing Cad Bane being introduced in live action was great. Seeing Timothy Olyphant's Cobb Vanth, for me, the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett has saved Star Wars. These shows have put Star Wars back on the map, because what Disney did was a pile of fucking bollocks with the sequel trilogy. These shows have saved Star Wars, and I want more of it, and I can't wait until the season finale. I'm looking whether Boba Fett has a part to play in the season finale. I don't care anymore, as long as I'm entertained. And the last 2 episodes, I've been thoroughly entertained. Yes, the fan service is there, smiling ear to ear. What do you guys think? Whoever wants to take over next.
I've already said my piece about Book of Boba Fett. So, I mean, my only thing is that this show is not doing any favors for Boba Fett. That's I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to, it's doing a lot of good for a lot of other Star Wars avenues, but for Boba Fett, it's not doing much. So, I'll send it over to Block.
It's a slow burn, Cheeto. You gotta give it time.
A lot of time.
Well, I'm just gonna pass it off to Vance. So,
in my humble opinion, as far as the Luke Skywalker deep fake goes, I saw something this morning, in fact, online about how much Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, looks like Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
you're
and
just now
he does.
people are saying maybe he should replace whoever's doing the Luke physical. And he tweeted, "I'm down for that."
Yeah, that was like last year though.
Oh, was it?
No, that was years. Actually, the Sebastian Stan Luke Skywalker thing was a few years back, where there was a picture of Sebastian Stan, and people couldn't believe that was him because it looked like Luke Skywalker. It was
like probably
Mark
sometime
Hamill.
after Winter Soldier came out, like when people
something
started
along
making
those lines. Yeah, but this is before because Sebastian Stan was still trying to make a name for himself. Now he's a household name, you know.
Yeah.
But it's the thing with Sebastian Stan is that he's still an actor who's in demand. He's recently done playing Tommy Lee in the Tom and Pammy thing, which I'm definitely going to watch, by the way. So it's not the straightforward. Just get Sebastian Stan to do it because he could be asked to do other stuff. And now they've gone deep fake. I think they've got to stick with it now. I think it'd be a bit weird to bring in Sebastian Stan now.
Yeah. I don't know. Opinion.
It looks a lot better here. It's still not quite 100%, but it looks a lot better here than it did at the end of The Mandalorian. At the end of The Mandalorian, it was almost unforgivable how bad it looked. But here, it doesn't look quite that bad. At least I don't think. But
they had a year to perfect the craft. So
yeah.
And they hired a guy from who was a YouTuber who did a better version of the deep fake, and his version was so much more improved than what LucasArts brought out that they hired the guy, and apparently he's the guy who did the deep fake for the Book of Boba Fett episode. So you can see they got the talent. I've seen better deep fakes done by people in their mother's fucking basement, for fuck's sake.
Did they actually hire him? Did they actually hire him?
Yeah, they did. And
oh wow.
Yeah, so you can make it. Like when you're that talented, then you'll get noticed. And the last thing they want is the sort of people they've got right now. And some of the deepfakes made by people on regular computers or like decent computers at least is far superior than some of the stuff Hollywood's come out with. Remember Jeff Bridges from fucking Tron Legacy, for fuck's sake? That was one of the worst de-aging processes. And by the way, there is a difference in what I've realized. There is a difference between de-aging and deep fake because they're not de-aging Mark Hamill. They're using a totally different actor and putting Mark Hamill's younger face on it. Whilst, like Samuel L. Jackson was de-aged in Captain Marvel, for instance. So there are differences.
As far as Boba Fett goes, I would just say that I'm enjoying it for what it is. And I'm not disturbed by the deep faking because I understand circumstances of the actor, age, and everything. But I haven't really been excited by anything of Star Wars for so long that I just put up with whatever comes out now. And okay.
I think Frank does green screen, but none of us here does.
But gents, it's getting late and I'm getting sleepies, so I appreciate being part of it. But I'm going to go ahead and log and jet out and catch you all much later.
Take care, Steve. Nice having you here, mate.
Good plus, Steve.
Ciao.
All right, gentlemen. I think that's going to be the same for me. I think it's about time for me to go. So,
well, I think it's pretty much time for us to wrap anyway. So,
I was just about to say, I wanted to finish off the Boba Fett thing. Just saying, what do you guys think is going to happen at the end? I mean, regarding Luke Skywalker and Grogu, do you think he's going to choose the Mandalorian armor, or do you think he's going to choose the lightsaber?
I think Luke just ends up looking like a punk either way because he's kind of making him choose, and only a Sith deals in absolute. So I think he kind of makes.
I've been hearing that one recently.
I think Luke comes across like a jerk. So I mean, I'm not liking how Luke is being presented, and I don't like Luke in Boba Fett. I think he just comes across like a jerk. So fuck him.
Vance, do you know anything about the post Return of the Jedi stuff before Disney took over, like some of the legend?
I don't know anything about Star Wars, dude.
Well, like in how it was established by George Lucas that Jedis are not supposed to have attachments, but once Luke Skywalker became Grand Master of a new Jedi Order, he said fuck all that, because it was his attachment to his dad and his dad attachment to him that turned him back to the light side, by the way, because his dad gave up his life for his son and he became a Jedi again. Luke Skywalker didn't turn to the dark side because he wanted to save his dad. So attachments don't necessarily turn you evil. And I'm kind of upset that they're going down the attachment route again with this new Jedi Order, because I thought that would have been scrapped, you know. So I'm not happy with that too much. But other than that, I'm can't wait for the last episode, and I'm very happy.
Do they only have one more?
One more episode left, and hopefully it's gonna be interesting. I do feel we're gonna get more cameos and.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a cameo from Boba Fett in the next episode. So,
he had a cameo in the last episode.
Yeah, but he didn't say anything.
But
I'm just, anything.
I'm not saying that I don't dislike Marvel, but you can have too much of a good thing. So I'm very happy that this year we're getting a lot of Star Wars content. And after this, we're going to get the Cassian Andor series. We're going to get the
what?
Obi-Wan Cassian Andor. Have you seen Rogue One?
Yeah. Yep.
Cassian Andor was the guy played by Diego Luna, the guy with the big robot. He ended up being one of the guys who died. Anyway,
okay.
You'll recognize him, but he's getting the Cassian Andor series. It's a prequel series to Rogue One, and then we're getting obviously Obi-Wan as well, and then finally at the end of this year we're going to get Mandalorian season 3. So I'm happy that we're getting some Star Wars content, because as I said earlier, Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian has saved Star Wars, which is why, in a way, I'm not looking forward to these new Star Wars movies coming out, which are set in the High Republic era, but I feel Disney are going to make the same fucking mistakes they made with the fucking sequel trilogy by putting this in a period where no one gives a shit. You know what I mean? The High Republic era. Who gives a fuck about the High Republic era?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the new Star Wars movies because they were. I watched the first one with Rey, and it was just kind of garbage. So I didn't go back for more because once someone shits in your mouth, you don't ask for seconds. So
Oh, but Star Wars fans do, and that's when they got the dumperoo called the Last Jedi.
I was going 2 girls, 1 cup on that stuff, man. But yeah, nevertheless. Nevertheless, I'm really happy with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are in my opinions they've been given the baton by George Lucas, and they're the ones who should take it forward. What Kathleen Kennedy's doing is not good. It's amazing for somebody who's worked around Spielberg and Lucas for decades. The fact that she knows fuck all about this shit is astounding to me. It really is. You can't just label something Star Wars and think it's going to sell. People will see right through it, and they did that with the sequel trilogy. So I'm hoping what we're getting now is the way forward. And I think if they're going to make the same mistake with the fucking High Republic series, but let's hope it's good. But yeah, that's really all I got to say about that.
Okay. Well, with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much. I know we ran over. We try to keep this around an hour. As you can see, we do not. Because we are very time efficient and talk too much. So
there's so many of us as well, by the way. It's very hard to. There's a lot to talk about.
But with that all being said, everybody, thank you for joining us. Vance, thank you very much for doing this collaboration with us, crossover for with No Budget and Nerdtube. Block, thank you very much for joining us. And Zam, thank you very much for waking up early to be with us. Also,
I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Also, thanks to STE for being Daniel Vance for jumping in at the end of the chat. STE, who's been there with us for a while.
I like the Knights of the Old Republic era too. I want them to do a Game of Thrones type series set in the Knights of the Old Republic era. That would be ideal for me. I would lose my shit.
Yeah, and we can talk about that next week. What's up, Block?
Oh, I was just saying, yep, agree on that.
Okay. So with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much for watching. And Vance, take us out with your catchphrase.
Be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.
See you later.